The James Show Podcast.
Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome to The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Not looking forward to doing this show today. North Texas is rocked as a Cowboy player has committed suicide. And, I mean, this just happened mere hours ago. And when you're going through the pieces here, of course, we're all focused on this story because this happens to a Cowboy, a Dallas Cowboys. They're demigods around here. I'm not exaggerating here. They hold actually a special place in our society. And, you know, even though we don't get to know all of them, in fact, we don't get to know most of them. Most of them are only here for 2 to 3, maybe 4 years at a time. And so it's kind of a transient position. But this is something that has touched all of us. These mental health issues. You know someone who's committed suicide. You know someone who just out of the blue, you never even thought they were upset. They seem like a happy, pleasant person. They end up killing themselves. And you feel bad about it. I know it. I've been there. You have a guy that you work with. He doesn't show up on Sunday to do the show live. You find out the next day he committed suicide. There's a note. And you tell yourself, man, Brian seemed like one of the happier guys I knew. I never heard him complain about anything. He even did extra things around the station. It was like, hey, can you go to the convention center and do a remote on Sunday? I know it's a last minute thing. He'd be like, sure, no problem. He never griped about his wife. He never griped about his job. He never griped about the crappy cars that we all drive because we work in radio and we're poor. And then you find out from the note that this guy had been living in his own little private hell and just not telling anyone. Now, I'm not going through that. I mean, you got to trust me on that. But how many people are going through that? How oblivious are you and I that we talk to these people who are just days away from ending it? They are at the end of their rope, and we don't even know it. And so when that happens to you, probably the same thing that happens to me. We're not sociopaths. Now we have to carry around guilt. Guilt for not noticing. I did not know my friend Brian was in the last few days of his life. I did not know that he was so unhappy with his circumstances and his situation. I feel bad. And so now there's a whole bunch of people who are going through this. The guys that knew him personally, the coaches, the players, the friends, the entourage, the family, the cousins, the girlfriend. They're going to be carrying around this guilt for a long time. And what this really centers around, this has nothing to do with football now. Now we're talking about mental health. So who hasn't been affected by mental health episodes? You know, we don't have a problem talking about this and bringing it up first thing when it comes to the next mass shooting or something that helps someone politically speaking. But in this scenario, I think that's what the underlying issue is here. Mental health. Because we all have to be a little humble here. Turn off your pride. Just, I don't mean turn it down. I mean turn it all the way off. Just click the button that says off. Because we have to admit, we have no idea what's going on in the heads of people around us. We have to admit, because you're probably like me. We have a guy here who is living a dream life. We have a guy here who is living a dream that pretty much every little boy growing up in Texas fantasizes about. From when you first discover football until about the time you get into high school and you're not even that good on varsity and you're third string receiver, so you quit so you can spend more time in theater because you change clothes with girls instead of guys. You know, I'm just hypothetically speaking out there. That's not anything personal. But you've had this happen to you. I've had this happen to me. And now this is happening to the people around us. Like, what do we do? Do we ask people more? Do you just generally be more supportive? Do I need to go around asking all my friends, hey, you're not suicidal, are you? You need any help? You know, Dak had a recent suicide that he's been dealing with in his personal life. That was his brother, wasn't it? And so the pictures were being passed around already this morning, how Dak and the taping on his wrist. takes a Sharpie and writes, ask for help. And that's the message for people out there. If you're struggling with mental health and you're thinking about doing something like Marshawn Kneeland did, don't just carry this burden on your own. Ask for help. But I'm asking for humility here because clearly I do not understand severe mental health problems. I do not understand how a guy can score a touchdown with a star on his helmet in the Cowboys Stadium on Monday Night Football. And he's a defensive player. Most of them never get to touch the football, much less score a touchdown. It seems like you're at the pinnacle of human existence, and 48 hours later, you're ending it. I don't understand. And so in order to battle this, I think we all have to admit, we don't understand what's going on in the minds of people like this, but we need to start doing a better job. Because just like so many of these other problems these other tragedies could have been prevented, like a drunk driving crash or, a school shooting. I mean, these seem to be pretty preventable. Or do I even sound even more naive saying that? The coverage on this was just awful, too. I mean, we all kind of went through it together. We heard this morning that a Cowboys player had died. We didn't know why. We didn't know how. We didn't know if he was murdered. We didn't know if it was a car wreck. We didn't know if he had some sort of cardiac event from the vaccine or whatever. But WFAA, I'll walk through it in sound bites for you. This is the report we all got this morning.
Good morning. We are cutting into our Plus programming with some breaking news this Thursday. The Dallas Cowboys have announced the death of second-year defensive edge player Marshawn Kneeland this morning. The 24-year-old is out of Western Michigan. He played at WMU for the Broncos, a second-round pick in 2024. Certainly a big splash earlier this week. Fans of the Cowboys saw him score his first professional touchdown on the heels of a blocked punt on Monday Night Football against the Cardinals. Now, we do not have many details yet on his death. We can report that Plano police were called to his home for a welfare check overnight. They say they did not make contact and then closed the case. But again, our team is working feverishly to find out some more information, and we'll share that for you as soon as we have it.
And then we're in a terrible limbo there, not knowing how he died, what he died from. Then when we finally got the report, didn't make you feel any better, did it?
I want to cut in real quickly here. I mentioned before that we were waiting on a statement from officials today. We did just get this in courtesy of DPS, the North Texas region. I want to read this for our viewers. I'm going to read this in its entirety. It says on November 5th of 2025 at 10:33 last night, DPS troopers attempted to stop a vehicle for a traffic violation on the northbound lanes of the Dallas North Tollway near Keller Springs Boulevard. The driver refused to stop, resulting in a pursuit with DPS troopers. They lost sight of the vehicle. That pursuit was terminated. That vehicle later located abandoned. It had been involved in a crash on the southbound lanes of Dallas Parkway near Warren Parkway. DPS aircraft and troopers, along with the Frisco Police Department, searched the immediate area. They found the driver, 24-year-old Marshawn Kneeland, deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
All right, so then that was the end of the morning show on WFAA. In their midday show, we got the final update with some of the more grisly details on how he lost a Cowboys player late last night, early this morning.
Welcome back to Midday as we follow breaking news, the death of Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Kneeland. DPS tells WFAA that troopers tried to make a traffic stop last night when Kneeland refused, leading them on a chase. The vehicle was later found abandoned after a crash. Law enforcement says they found Kneeland nearby dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Let's listen to the part of the dispatch call we just got into the newsroom.
They just received a text from him, a group text from him saying goodbye. They're concerned for his welfare.
The Cowboys released a statement confirming Kneeland's death. It said Marshawn was a beloved teammate and member of our organization. Our thoughts and prayers regarding Marshawn are with his girlfriend Catalina and his family.
Marshawn Kneeland, this is his second year on the team. Just scored a touchdown on Monday night. Leaves us. It's a mental health issue. We all think from the early reports it was a suicide. He had the wherewithal to text the family group chat goodbye. Apparently, he'd been dealing with this for a while. Catches me off guard. I feel naive at times like this. What do we do about that? 800-288-9227. This is Bill in Springtown. You're on WBAP.
Well, thank you for taking my call. With my wife's help, I overcame depression. I'm a Vietnam vet. I've seen things and done things I wanted to forget. And for several years, I did forget those. But something triggered me about 12 years ago, and I went into such a deep depression. Everything, it was the darkest place I've ever been.
How would you explain it to someone who hasn't experienced that? I have a friend who swears he has depression, and of course this hasn't gone this far. But he's like, you don't understand. I'm just unhappy for like 2 weeks at a time, no matter what.
No, that's not my situation, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just you feel helpless. You feel like there's nothing that you can do. But my wife went on the website and found a treatment called transcranial membrane stimulation, TMS. And at that point in my life, I was going to try anything. Because the reason why I didn't pull the trigger one night is that I couldn't imagine leaving my wife behind. And that's when I said, look, I know I'm emotional, but actually I'm happiest I've ever been. I would just encourage people when your loved ones are going to come to you. But for me, TMS was good after 2 weeks. My wife said she saw such a traumatic change. And then from there, I just built on that and realized that, how blessed I was. See, when you're in depression, you don't see any blessings. You're trapped. It's dark. You get in your bedroom, you turn the lights off. You barely eat.
You see how that sounds weird to someone who hasn't experienced depression, though? How could this guy feel like he's in a dark place or he's trapped? He's on top of the world. Any of us would trade places with Marshawn Nealon. And he was so unhappy. He was on the brink of ending it all.
I don't know his situation. I can only talk about mine.
Well, what would you have told him if you had talked to him 24 hours ago? He's still with us. What would you say, Bill, in Springtown?
If he would have listened to me, I would have said, go get transcranial membrane stimulation treatment and give your life 2 weeks. That's what I've told him.
Transcranial. I'm typing this in. Transcranial membrane what?
Stimulation.
Okay. We have some friends like Brain Performance Institute or something we'll be talking to soon. I'll be sure to ask doctors about that. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not familiar with it, but sounds like something I need to Google. Thank you for sharing your story, Bill, in Springtown.
God bless.
We'll get to the phones after I'm going to play the Frisco police scanner. And this is heavily edited. There's giant gaps of silence. There's 28 cops going, copy that, copy that, copy that on everything. And there's some people saying, hey, can you repeat that? All right, if you take all that out, this is how it went down in about a 2-minute span, about 1:30 this morning.
The girlfriend, she's trying to call his agent, but we're trying to get him to call him first. But she's saying he is armed and has a history of mental illness, and her quote was, he will end it all.
Good copy. You probably ran back to the car to get the gun.
If she calls him, we'll let you know.
All right, y'all do me a favor. Everybody stay with the buddy. Don't go looking alone. This guy is armed.
President, they just received a text from him, a group text saying goodbye. They're concerned for his welfare. They do not have a key to the apartment.
I was on this call. We were just out there. There's nobody at the apartment. I'll contact him by phone.
We have a lieutenant calling in from Plano advising that the NFL is calling Plano PD and the subject is texting his family goodbye.
GPS 111, there's a porta potty on the south side of that building.
40, we got eyes on it. That's pretty much right exactly where 118 drew the circle. Y'all see a heat from that?
Yeah, 111, we got good eyes on it. Looks like the door's open. Red liquid coming out from it. We just want to go ahead and work this safely before we have any officers approach. So let's just
get an arrest team and going to go through this safely and tactically. I believe we got eyes on a drone right there. Still got eyes on the target inside that porta potty.
We're pushing the drone there now.
Got a good copy. Just on our last orbit, we didn't see any movement. Still got that heat signature. Looks like it's curled up at the bottom of that porta potty with the stream of blood coming from the porta potty.
Yeah, that's a 10-4. He's going to be laying on his side, facing inward, and quite a bit of blood coming out.
My God, that's sad. 800-288-9227. What do you add to that? Hey, the NFL is calling the Frisco Police Department. The family's telling them he's texting them goodbye. My God, what were you doing about 1:30 this morning? I was cuddled up with Miss Parker in bed with a dog bothering my feet. Let's go to Gwen in Gun Barrel City. You're on WBAP.
Hello. Yeah, this is from a female's point of view. I agree with the previous caller about the dark place. It is very dark, and you're alone, and you feel helpless, hopeless. More than anything, I felt hopeless. I would go through the steps of, I was married, I had children, I had a job. I would go through all the steps of my daily living, but I didn't really care about anything. And I would be taking a shower, and I'd be thinking about blowing my brains out. I never did it, but I wanted to, and it got to the point I would actually run away. I would get in my car and just leave and drive forever and ever. And then I'd call my husband, and he would come and get me. He didn't know what to do. I didn't know. I'd never heard of it, depression. Well, I had a doctor visit, and thank the Lord, I had a doctor that listened to me. I didn't say I'm depressed. She asked questions, and then I would just start crying. And out came the beat. I just spilled it all. And that's the first time I was ever medicated for depression. And it helped me so much.
Are you better now?
Oh, yes.
What did it for you?
The education.
Just learning about depression fixed your depression? Was the medication like the...
I am still on medication. I'll be on it for the rest of my life. I will not come off of it. And the doctor told me it is a chemical imbalance in my brain, and it runs in families. And I have other family members that are depressed.
I hear you.
And put on medication.
This all sounds so weird to a person who, I guess I don't have a chemical imbalance, because how could you feel hopeless? How could you feel like you're in a dark place? How could you feel alone when you just scored a touchdown and you're looking around and there's 80,000 people cheering for you? You know, so this is serious stuff, Gwen. Listen to Gwen. Gwen got help. She got better. The guy before, he tried a different, transcranial, membranal, whatever I typed in. Get some help. Don't do this alone. Don't end up like Marshawn Nealon. Joining me now is half of the most dangerous midday show in radio, Donovan Lewis from The Invasion on the Ticket. Welcome, Donovan Lewis. Only tepid applause today. It's kind of a bummer. But thanks for joining us. Terrible day.
Yeah, no, absolutely terrible. Just got the news early on that something may be going down. Just don't know the details. And then everything started coming out, and we got all the information during our show today about what happened as far as Marshawn Nealon goes and some of the circumstances, and really didn't ever get a chance to talk to him in a couple of years. I went down to training camp when he was a part of the team, but everyone to a man that we've talked to afterwards have talked about how big of a laugh he had and how great of a guy he was. So you just never know, like you just said in the intro, about what's going through someone's head as far as their thoughts and their state of mind and all that. And, you know, Monday night, he's scoring his first touchdown in the NFL, and then we see what happened then. But you hear about the history of his mental illness, and he lost his mom. I don't know the circumstances of him losing his mom before he got drafted, but I think that was maybe one of the factors into him dealing and struggling with his mental health was the loss of his mom. And she passed away suddenly. And then we see what happened late last night and early this morning with Marshawn. It's just terrible, tragic news.
Well, I'm interested to learn more about his mental health history because, if there's a long, detailed history going back into, childhood, that's one thing. If it's something more recent, then you kind of put a big question mark over, does this have to do with, concussions and CTE and, the physical abuse that an average defensive tackle's head takes? So I think that's going to be a pretty important piece of information to know is his mental health history, Donovan.
No, I think you're right. And we talked to someone today who said that the Cowboys did their due diligence. So obviously it was something that they had known about as far as his mental health status and how he's dealing with it. So I think you're going to always maybe roll to the conclusion about CTE, have no clue about if that's the case or not, and don't know if we'll ever find out. But we've been told that the Cowboys definitely did their due diligence and they drafted him early and high in the second round. That's a pretty premium, valuable pick. So they pretty much figured, I'm sure, that he had everything under control and taken care of as far as his mental status goes. But everything just kind of came up to the surface last night and then this morning, and we see the effects of it.
We're talking with Donovan Lewis from Sports Radio 1310 and 96.7 The Ticket about we lost a Dallas Cowboy overnight to suicide, Marshawn Nealand. So do you know anything more in depth about what the mental health protocols in the NFL look like?
No, I think because we spoke with someone today, David Moore, who used to work with the Dallas Morning News and covered the Cowboys forever. He told us that they have things in place, not even dealing with something after the fact. Sometimes things will happen at a school or something, and they'll say, hey, counselors are available for them to talk to. And this day and age in sports, I think they have someone at the ready, even if you need to talk about it without something happening. So I know that that's been the case ever since mental health has come to the forefront as far as being a very, very real thing that a lot of people are going through. As a matter of fact, Dak Prescott, the quarterback, man, he's a big proponent for mental health. He lost a brother to suicide and, dealing with the issues of losing his mom. So he has an ask for help written on his wristbands pretty much before every single game that you'll see that. So I will bet you he's taking this pretty hard because he's a big proponent for it. And he's one of those guys that say, hey, if you have something going on, just ask for help, talk to someone, and just maybe thinking or knowing that one of his teammates was dealing with that in silence is probably not going over too well with him right now.
That's so, he's going to be carrying guilt. That is just brutal. All right. Well, thank you very much, Donovan Lewis from The Invasion on The Ticket. I appreciate your assist on this one, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Wish it was under better circumstances, but we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Donovan Lewis.
The James Show Podcast.